The apartment was too quiet. Nia Thompson jerked awake at 7:15 a.m., her heart already pounding before her mind caught up to why. The coffee maker hadn't beeped. No shower was running. No gospel music hummed from the kitchen where her mother always made breakfast before heading to bed after her night shift. She threw off her blankets and rushed to her mother's bedroom. The bed was made, untouched. Lorraine Thompson had not come home. Nia's hands shook as she grabbed her phone. 3 calls to her mother's cell went straight to voicemail. She checked the Find My Phone app, but her mother's location showed offline since 11:47 p.m. the night before, right around when her shift at the Hayes estate should have ended. Maybe she stayed late. Maybe Mr. Hayes asked her to work overtime, Nia whispered to herself, but her stomach twisted with dread. She called Mercy Hospital first. No, Jane Does had been admitted overnight. She called her mother's best friend, Patricia, who hadn't heard from Lorraine since yesterday afternoon. She called the 3 other women her mother worked with on rotation at various estates. Nothing. By 9 a.m., Nia sat on the couch, staring at the eviction notice on the coffee table. Rent was due in 3 days. They had $247 in their shared checking account. Her mother's paycheck from the Hayes family was supposed to deposit today, but without Lorraine to confirm her hours, it might be delayed. None of that mattered now. Her mother was missing. Nia had dropped out of community college 8 months ago when her mother got sick and missed 2 weeks of work. They had barely scraped by since then, even with Nia working double shifts at a fast food restaurant. But her mother never missed work. Never missed a shift. Never failed to come home or call. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. At 10:30 a.m., Nia made a decision that terrified her. She would go to the Hayes estate herself. She would speak directly to Jonathan Hayes, the billionaire CEO her mother had worked for over the past 2 years. Her mother always spoke of him with respect, said he was fair, that he treated his staff well. Nia had to hope that was true. She had to hope he would help her. Because if he didn't, she had nowhere else to turn. What would you do if your mother vanished without a trace after working for one of the richest men in the city? Would you have the courage to demand answers? Drop a comment below and subscribe to see if Nia finds her mother alive. Nia dressed in the only professional outfit she owned, a simple black dress her mother had bought her for job interviews. She took the bus across town to Riverside Heights, where the mansions sat behind iron gates and perfectly trimmed hedges. The Hayes estate was the largest, a sprawling modern structure of glass and stone that looked more like a museum than a home. The security guard at the gate studied her through suspicious eyes. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but my mother works here. Lorraine Thompson. She's one of the housekeepers. She didn't come home last night, and I need to speak with Mr. Hayes." The guard's expression softened slightly. "Let me call up to the house." 5 minutes later, the gate swung open. Nia walked up the long driveway on shaking legs, her heart hammering against her ribs. A woman in a crisp grey suit met her at the front door. "Miss Thompson? I'm Caroline, Mr. Hayes's assistant. He's agreed to see you. Please, follow me." The interior of the mansion took Nia's breath away. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. But she couldn't focus on the luxury. Her mind screamed with one thought: where is my mother? Caroline led her to a large office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pristine garden. Behind a massive desk sat Jonathan Hayes. He was younger than Nia expected, maybe late 30s, with dark hair touched with grey at the temples and sharp blue eyes. He stood as she entered, his expression grave. "Miss Thompson, please sit down. Caroline said your mother didn't come home last night." Nia remained standing, her voice trembling but clear. "My mother finished her shift here at 11 p.m. She always texts me when she's leaving work and when she gets home. Last night, nothing. Her phone is off. No one has seen her. I need to know what happened. I need to know if she's okay." Jonathan Hayes studied her for a long moment, and Nia braced herself for dismissal, for him to say this wasn't his problem, that her mother was just an employee who clocked out and what happened after wasn't his concern. Instead, he picked up his phone. "Vincent, come to my office immediately. And call Detective Morrison at the precinct." Tell her we have a missing person case. One of our staff members. He looked at Nia. Your mother's full name and a recent photo, please. We're going to find her. Nia's knees went weak with relief. She sank into the leather chair across from Jonathan's desk and pulled up a photo of her mother on her phone. Lorraine Thompson smiled back at her from the screen, taken just last week at their tiny kitchen table, her warm brown eyes crinkled with laughter. Lorraine Thompson, age 45, Nia said, her voice cracking. She's worked here for 2 years. Night shift, usually 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., 5 days a week. She's never late. She's never missed a shift without calling. Something happened to her. I know it. Jonathan forwarded the photo to his contacts, then looked at Nia with an intensity that made her feel truly seen. Tell me everything about last night. Every detail you can remember. Before Nia could respond, a tall man with salt and pepper hair entered the office. You called, Mr. Hayes. Vincent Torres, my head of security, Jonathan explained to Nia. Vincent, Lorraine Thompson, one of our housekeepers, is missing. Last seen leaving the estate at approximately 11 p.m. last night. I want you to pull all security footage from yesterday evening. Every camera on the property and the street outside. And get me the contact information for every staff member who worked last night. Vincent nodded and left immediately. Nia watched in amazement as this billionaire, this man who could have easily brushed her off, mobilized his entire security team for her mother. Why are you helping me? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Jonathan leaned back in his chair. Your mother is part of my staff. That makes her safety my responsibility. More than that, she's a human being who deserves every resource I can provide. Now, walk me through yesterday. Nia took a shaky breath. Mom left for work at 5:30 p.m. like always. She texted me at 6:15 to say she'd arrived. Then nothing until she should have been coming home. I waited up until 1 a.m. I thought maybe she'd gotten overtime, but she always texts. Always. Did she mention anything unusual recently? Anyone bothering her? Any concerns about work or her personal life? No. She loved working here. She said you were fair, that the pay was good, that the other staff were kind. She never complained. Nia's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Hayes, we're about to be evicted. Rent is due in 3 days, and without my mother's paycheck. I don't know what to do. But right now, I don't care about the apartment. I just want my mother back. Jonathan stood and walked around the desk. He pulled a business card from his pocket and wrote something on the back. This is my personal cell number. You will call me any time, day or night, with questions or if you need anything. As for your rent, consider it handled. Give Caroline your landlord's information before you leave. Mr. Hayes, I can't. Yes, you can, he said gently. Your mother works for me. You shouldn't have to worry about housing while we search for her. Accept the help, Nia. Let me do this. Nia nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. Thank you so much. A sharp knock interrupted them. Detective Rachel Morrison entered, a woman in her 40s with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Jonathan quickly briefed her on the situation. I'll need to question the staff who worked last night, Detective Morrison said. Mr. Hayes, I'll need access to your security footage and employee records. Whatever you need, Jonathan agreed. He turned to Nia. I want you to stay here at the estate while we investigate. We have guest rooms, and it will be easier for you to be close to the investigation. Will you accept that? Every instinct told Nia to refuse, to not impose, to handle this herself. But she thought of her mother's words, advice given so many times. Baby, sometimes you have to let people help you. Pride won't keep the lights on. Yes, Nia said. I'll stay. Thank you. Caroline showed Nia to a guest room that was larger than her entire apartment. A king-sized bed, a private bathroom with heated floors, a sitting area with a view of the garden. It felt surreal to be here while her mother was missing, but Nia was grateful to be close to the investigation. She had barely set down her small overnight bag when someone knocked on the door. Jonathan stood in the hallway, still in his business suit, but he'd loosened his tie. Detective Morrison wants to speak with you. She's set up in the library. I'll walk you there. They moved through the mansion in silence. Nia noticed staff members whispering in corners, their faces worried. Her mother had been well liked here. That knowledge brought a small comfort. The library was exactly what Nia expected from a billionaire's home: walls of leather-bound books, a fireplace, comfortable chairs. Detective Morrison sat at a long table covered in papers and a laptop. Miss Thompson, please sit. I need to ask you some questions about your mother's routine, her relationships, anyone who might have wanted to harm her. For the next hour, Nia answered every question she could. Her mother's schedule, her friends, her habits. She explained that Lorraine was a widow, that Nia's father had died in a construction accident when Nia was 10. They had no extended family in the city, just each other and a small circle of friends from church. Did your mother mention any romantic relationships? Detective Morrison asked. No. She dated occasionally, but nothing serious. She always said she was too busy raising me and working to focus on romance. Nia's voice broke. She sacrificed everything for me. Jonathan had remained in the room, standing by the window. He turned at Nia's words, his expression thoughtful. Vincent entered with a tablet. Mr. Hayes, detective, we have the security footage. They gathered around the table as Vincent pulled up the video. Nia watched her mother walk out the staff entrance at 11:03 p.m. Lorraine waved to someone off camera, probably another staff member, then headed toward the employee parking area. There, Vincent said, freezing the frame. She gets in her car, a 2008 Honda Civic, gray. She drives to the gate, waves at the security guard, and exits onto Riverside Drive. The next camera, positioned on a pole outside the estate, showed Lorraine's car turning left onto the main road. But something else caught Nia's attention. Wait. Go back. What's that van? Vincent rewound the footage. A dark van, no visible plates, sat parked on the street about 50 yards from the estate entrance. As Lorraine's car passed, the van's headlights turned on. It pulled out and followed her. The room went silent. Get me traffic camera footage for every intersection between here and Miss Thompson's apartment, Detective Morrison ordered. I want to know where that van went. Jonathan placed a hand on Nia's shoulder. We're going to find her. I promise you, we're going to find her. Nia wanted to believe him. She had to believe him. Because the alternative, that her mother was gone forever, was unthinkable. Mr. Hayes, Vincent said quietly, there's something else. I ran the van's description through our database. A vehicle matching that description was reported near your downtown office building last week. And near your home in the Hamptons 2 weeks ago. Jonathan's face hardened. Someone is watching me. And they took Lorraine to get to me. The next morning, Nia woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For one blessed moment, she forgot where she was and why. Then reality crashed down, and she grabbed her phone. No new messages. She found Jonathan in his office, looking like he hadn't slept. Coffee cups littered his desk, and his computer displayed multiple screens of data. Any news? Nia asked from the doorway. He looked up, and the exhaustion in his eyes matched what she felt. Detective Morrison is on her way. They found your mother's car. Nia's heart stopped. Is she? They don't know. The car was abandoned near the shipping docks. They're processing it now for evidence. He stood and gestured to a chair. Sit down. Let me get you some breakfast. I can't eat. You need to keep your strength up. For your mother. His voice was gentle but firm. She'd want you to take care of yourself. He was right. Nia nodded and accepted the toast and orange juice he brought from a small kitchen area in his office. She managed a few bites before Detective Morrison arrived, her face grim. We found the vehicle at Pier 19, driver's door open, keys still in the ignition. There are signs of a struggle. Broken glass on the ground, scuff marks suggesting she was dragged. We found her phone smashed under the car. Nia made a sound she didn't recognize as her own, a broken sob that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside. Jonathan moved quickly, sitting beside her and taking her hand. But there's no blood, Detective Morrison continued. which suggests whoever took her wanted her alive. Miss Thompson, I need to ask you something difficult. Could your mother's disappearance be related to debt? Did she owe anyone money? No, Nia said immediately. We're broke, but we don't owe anyone. We pay our bills late sometimes, but we pay them. What about enemies of mine? Jonathan asked. You said someone has been watching me. Who would do this? Detective Morrison exchanged a glance with Vincent, who had followed her in. Mr. Hayes, are you aware of any business rivals who might resort to extreme measures? Jonathan's jaw tightened. I'm a billionaire, detective. I have dozens of competitors who would love to see me fail. But kidnapping? That's... He paused. Wait. Gerald Preston. Who's that? Nia asked. A businessman who wanted to buy my technology company 3 months ago. I refused to sell. He made some threats, said I'd regret it, that I'd lose everything I cared about. I didn't take him seriously. I thought he meant financial competition, not. Jonathan stood abruptly and paced to the window. This is my fault. They took her to get to me. This is not your fault, Nia said firmly. And we're going to find my mother and bring whoever did this to justice. Jonathan turned to her, surprise in his eyes at her fierce tone. Then he nodded. Yes. We are. He looked at Detective Morrison. I'm offering a $500,000 reward for information leading to Lorraine's safe return. And I want to hire private investigators to work alongside your team. Mr. Hayes, that could complicate the investigation, Detective Morrison protested. I don't care. Use every resource I have. Nia, is that okay with you? Nia didn't hesitate. Yes. Whatever it takes. Would you refuse help from a billionaire if it meant finding your missing mother? Could you put aside pride when someone's life is on the line? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. Over the next 2 days, the investigation consumed everyone at the Hayes estate. Nia barely left Jonathan's office, watching as his team worked with police to track down leads. The reward money brought in dozens of tips, most useless, but each one had to be checked. Vincent's security team investigated Gerald Preston, a cutthroat businessman with a reputation for hostile takeovers. They discovered Preston had financial problems, that Jonathan's refusal to sell had cost Preston potential investors who backed out of deals when they couldn't acquire Hayes Technologies. Preston has motive, Vincent reported during a briefing in Jonathan's office. And opportunity. We traced that van to a rental company that rents to Preston's holding company. They paid cash and gave a false name, but the credit card number traces back to one of his shell corporations. Detective Morrison looked satisfied. That's enough for a warrant. We'll raid Preston's properties tonight. Nia felt a surge of hope. You think my mother is there? I think we'll find answers, Detective Morrison said carefully. Jonathan had been watching Nia throughout all of this, and she'd caught him studying her several times when he thought she wasn't looking. Despite the nightmare circumstances, she felt drawn to him. He was kind, dedicated, refusing to let this investigation drop despite his busy schedule. He'd cancelled important meetings to stay focused on finding her mother. That evening, as they waited for news from the raids, Jonathan ordered dinner brought to his office. They sat together, picking at their food in silence. Tell me about your mother, Jonathan said finally. What's she like? Nia smiled for the first time in days. She's the strongest person I know. When my dad died, she worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. She made sure I had everything I needed for school, that I never felt like we were struggling even though we were. She taught me to be grateful, to accept help when it's offered, to pay kindness forward. Tears filled Nia's eyes. She always put me first. And now she's out there somewhere, scared, because of me. Because of me, Jonathan corrected gently. This isn't your fault, Nia. It's Preston's fault, if he's the one who did this. And we're going to make sure he pays. His phone rang. Vincent. We found something. Vincent arrived at the office within minutes, carrying a laptop and looking energized despite the late hour. Detective Morrison was right behind him. Preston's warehouse, Vincent said, opening the laptop to show surveillance photos. We hacked into Preston's private server. He has security cameras everywhere, the paranoid type. These images are from a location across the state line, about 3 hours from here. Warehouse district, mostly abandoned. He clicked through photos showing the interior of a warehouse. Boxes, old equipment, and in the corner, a small room with a heavy door. We can't see inside that room, but thermal imaging from the police helicopter shows a heat signature consistent with a person inside. Vincent looked at Nia. Someone is being held there. Nia's hands shook. Is it my mother? We don't know for certain, Detective Morrison said. But all evidence points to Preston holding someone at that location. We have FBI and local police coordinating for a raid tomorrow at dawn. Mr. Hayes, I need you to stay here. This could be dangerous. Absolutely not, Jonathan said immediately. If Lorraine is there, I need to be there. No, Nia said, surprising herself with the force in her voice. Detective Morrison is right. What if this is a trap? What if Preston is waiting for you? You can't risk it. Jonathan looked at her, conflict clear in his eyes. Nia. Please, she whispered. I can't lose you too. The words hung in the air. Nia realized what she'd said, that she'd revealed how much Jonathan had come to mean to her in these intense few days. But she didn't take it back. Jonathan's expression softened. He reached across the desk and took her hand. Okay. I'll stay here. But Vincent goes with the raid team. Already planning on it, Vincent said. That night, Nia couldn't sleep. She paced her room, prayed, and around 3 a.m., she gave up and went downstairs. She found Jonathan in the kitchen, also unable to sleep, making coffee. Couldn't rest either, he asked. How can I, when my mother might be? She couldn't finish the sentence. Jonathan handed her a mug of coffee. She's strong. You said so yourself. She's a survivor. And tomorrow, we bring her home. They sat together at the kitchen island, talking in quiet voices. Jonathan told her about losing his own mother to cancer when he was in college, how it had driven him to build his company, to prove himself. Nia told him about her abandoned college dreams, how she'd wanted to study social work to help families like hers. When this is over, when your mother is safe, I want to help you go back to school, Jonathan said. Full scholarship, whatever you need. Mr. Hayes. Jonathan, he corrected. And I'm serious. You shouldn't have to give up your dreams because of circumstances beyond your control. Nia looked at him, this man who had moved heaven and earth to help a woman he barely knew, who was offering to change her life with his generosity. Thank you. I accept. His eyes widened slightly, then he smiled. Good. Your mother taught you well. Never refuse help when it's offered in good faith. At 5 a.m., Vincent called. We're moving in. I'll call as soon as we know anything. The next 2 hours were the longest of Nia's life. She and Jonathan sat together in his office, not speaking, just waiting. He held her hand, and she held on like he was her anchor in a storm. Finally, at 7:13 a.m., Jonathan's phone rang. We have her, Vincent said. She's alive. Nia's scream of relief and joy echoed through the mansion. Staff members came running, and when they heard the news, the entire household erupted in celebration. Caroline cried. The chef crossed himself and thanked God. The security guards at the gate hugged each other. But the celebration was brief. Vincent's voice turned serious. She's in rough shape, though. Dehydrated, malnourished, signs of exposure. Preston kept her in that cold room with minimal food and water. We're loading her into a medical helicopter now. Should be at Mercy Hospital in 40 minutes. Jonathan was already grabbing his keys. We're leaving now. The drive to the hospital was a blur. Jonathan's driver took them at speeds that should have been illegal, but a police escort cleared the way. Nia sat in the back of the SUV, shaking with a mixture of fear and hope. She's alive, she kept whispering. She's alive. Jonathan sat beside her, still holding her hand. She's going to be okay. The best doctors are waiting. I made sure of it. At the hospital, they were escorted to a private waiting area. Dr. Amora Johnson, a poised African-American woman with kind eyes, met them there. Miss Thompson, I'm Dr. Johnson. Your mother is stable. We have her on fluids and are treating her for dehydration and mild hypothermia. She has some bruising and abrasions from the initial struggle, but no life-threatening injuries. She's incredibly strong. Can I see her? Soon. We're getting her settled in a private room. Give us about 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Nia paced the waiting room while Jonathan made calls, arranging for round-the-clock care, the best specialists, anything Lorraine might need. You don't have to do all this, Nia said, though she didn't mean it. She was grateful for every bit of help. Yes, I do, Jonathan replied. This happened because she worked for me. I owe her everything. Finally, a nurse came to get them. Nia ran down the hallway, burst into the hospital room, and there was her mother. Lorraine looked small in the hospital bed, and 4 in her arm, monitors beeping steadily. But her eyes were open, and when she saw Nia, she smiled. Baby, Lorraine whispered. Come here. Nia collapsed at her mother's bedside, sobbing into her hands. Mom, I thought I lost you. I'm okay, baby. I'm okay. Lorraine's voice was weak but steady. She looked past Nia to Jonathan, who stood respectfully near the door. Mr. Hayes. You found me. You saved my life. Jonathan approached the bed. Mrs. Thompson, I'm so sorry this happened to you. It was my business rival who did this, trying to get to me. You suffered because of me. Not because of you, Lorraine said firmly. Because of an evil man who made evil choices. You saved me, Mr. Hayes. You and my Nia. Over the next hour, Lorraine told them what had happened. She had left work as usual, gotten in her car, and noticed a van following her. Before she could react, the van forced her off the road. Men grabbed her, drugged her. She woke up in that cold room, terrified, not knowing if anyone knew she was missing or if she would ever see her daughter again. But I prayed, Lorraine said, squeezing Nia's hand. I prayed that God would protect me and that you would be okay. And he answered. Detective Morrison arrived to take a statement. She reported that Gerald Preston and 3 of his associates had been arrested. The evidence was overwhelming, and Preston was already trying to negotiate a plea deal. He'll go to prison for a long time, Detective Morrison assured them. Kidnapping carries a minimum of 20 years. Good, Nia said fiercely. He deserves more. That evening, as Lorraine slept, Jonathan pulled Nia aside in the hallway. Your mother is going to need time to recover. I want her to stay at the estate when she's discharged, where we have medical staff and she can rest properly. And I'm arranging for early retirement with full pension. She's been through too much to go back to night shifts. Nia's eyes filled with tears. Jonathan, that's too much. It's not enough, he said. Nia, these past few days with you, even in the worst circumstances, have shown me something. You're remarkable. Your strength, your determination, your love for your mother. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Nia's heart raced. I've been thinking about you too. When your mother is well, when life calms down, I'd like to take you to dinner. A proper date. Would you accept that? Nia smiled through her tears. Yes. I'd like that very much. Lorraine spent a week in the hospital under Dr. Johnson's care. Each day brought improvement. Color returned to her cheeks. Her strength grew. And throughout it all, Jonathan visited daily, often bringing flowers or books, sitting quietly while Nia read to her mother. The media caught wind of the story. Billionaire CEO saves employee from kidnapping ran the headlines. Jonathan's PR team wanted him to do interviews, but he refused. This isn't about me. This is about Lorraine and Nia. Nia appreciated his discretion. The last thing they needed was cameras and reporters hounding them. On the 5th day, Lorraine was sitting up in bed, eating solid food, when Detective Morrison arrived with updates. Preston is cooperating, she said. He's confessed to everything. Turns out, this wasn't his first attempt at corporate intimidation. The FBI found evidence of other schemes, other victims. He's looking at 40 years minimum. I want to testify, Lorraine said firmly. I want to look him in the eye and tell him he didn't break me. We'd be honored to have your testimony, Mrs. Thompson, Detective Morrison replied. Over the following days, as Lorraine recovered, Nia noticed a change in her mother. Lorraine had always been strong, but there was a new steel in her eyes now, a determination that hadn't been there before. "I survived," Lorraine said one afternoon as Nia helped her walk the hospital corridor. "I survived because of you, baby. Because I knew you needed me. And because Mr. Hayes refused to give up." "He's a good man," Nia said quietly. Lorraine smiled knowingly. "He cares about you. I see how he looks at you." "Mom. Don't mom me. You like him too. And when I'm better, when all this is settled, you're going to let him take you on that date you think I don't know about." Lorraine squeezed her daughter's hand. "You deserve happiness, Nia. Don't let fear hold you back." On the 8th day, Dr. Johnson cleared Lorraine for discharge. Jonathan arrived with Vincent and a medical transport van to take Lorraine to the guest house on his estate, which he'd converted into a recovery suite with hospital-grade equipment and a private nurse. "Mr. Hayes, this is too much," Lorraine protested, though Nia noticed she didn't refuse. "It's not enough," Jonathan replied. "Please, let me do this. For my own peace of mind." So Lorraine accepted, and they moved her to the estate. The guest house was beautiful, with large windows overlooking a garden, a comfortable bed, medical equipment discreetly placed, and a nurse named Patricia who was coincidentally Lorraine's best friend from church. Jonathan had hired her specifically because he knew Lorraine would be comfortable with her. "You thought of everything," Nia said to Jonathan that evening as they walked through the garden. "I wanted her to feel safe. After what she went through, she deserves peace." He stopped walking and turned to face Nia. "And you deserve peace too. How are you holding up?" "I'm okay. Better than okay. My mother is alive and safe. That's all that matters." "What about your dreams? College? Your life?" Nia had been thinking about that. "I want to go back to school. And I want to accept your scholarship offer. But not right away. I need to be here while my mother recovers. Family comes first. What if I told you the offer doesn't expire? That you can start whenever you're ready?" Jonathan smiled. "Your mother is going to be here for at least 2 months during recovery. You could take online classes, ease back in." "Could I do that?" "You can do anything you want, Nia." His voice was gentle. "I believe in you." Nobody had ever said that to Nia before, except her mother. The weight of it, the gift of his belief in her, made tears spring to her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For saving my mother. For helping us. For seeing me." "You're easy to see," Jonathan said softly. "You shine, Nia Thompson. Have you ever met someone who changed your life in just a few days? Someone who saw your worth when you couldn't see it yourself? Share your story in the comments and hit subscribe to see what happens next." That night, Nia lay in her room at the estate, no longer a guest room but what Jonathan had started calling Nia's room. She thought about the past 2 weeks, how her life had been torn apart and then rebuilt into something she never imagined. Her mother was safe. They had a home for now. She had a scholarship waiting whenever she was ready. And she had Jonathan, this remarkable man who had moved mountains for them. Life was starting to look like it might be okay. But Nia didn't know that the hardest part was still to come. 8 days after Lorraine's rescue, while she was recovering comfortably in the guest house, the trial proceedings began. Gerald Preston's lawyers tried to suppress evidence, to claim entrapment, to delay the inevitable. But the case was airtight. Nia attended every hearing, sitting in the gallery with Jonathan beside her. She wanted Preston to see her, to know that he had failed to destroy them. During a recess on the 2nd day, Preston's lawyer approached them in the hallway. "Mr. Hayes, my client would like to offer a deal." "No deals," Jonathan said coldly. "Hear me out. He'll plead guilty to all charges, except a 40-year sentence, if you agree not to pursue civil action against his family. His daughter has special needs. His wife is innocent in all this." Jonathan looked at Nia. "It's not my decision. Mrs. Thompson is the victim." Nia thought about it. Preston's family didn't deserve to suffer for his crimes. "I'll agree, on one condition. 20% of whatever assets aren't seized by the government goes into a fund for victims of corporate crime. Real help for people who can't afford lawyers." The lawyer looked surprised, then nodded. I'll present it to my client. Preston agreed within an hour. The deal was struck. He would spend the rest of his life in prison, but his family would be protected, and something good would come from his crimes. You're generous, Jonathan said to Nia as they left the courthouse. My mother taught me that holding on to anger only hurts yourself. He'll pay for what he did. His family shouldn't have to pay too. That evening, Lorraine asked to speak with both Nia and Jonathan. They gathered in her recovery suite, where she sat in a comfortable chair by the window, looking healthier than she had in days. I've been thinking, Lorraine said. About what happened, about why it happened, and about what comes next. She looked at Jonathan. Mr. Hayes, you offered me early retirement, and I'm grateful. But I have a different proposal. I'm listening, Jonathan said. I can't do night shifts anymore. The thought of being out after dark terrifies me now. But I still need to work. I need purpose. Lorraine took a breath. I want to manage the victim support fund that Nia created. I want to help families like ours, people who fall through the cracks when bad things happen. Jonathan's face lit up. That's perfect. Lorraine, yes. Absolutely yes. We'll set up an office, hire staff, give you whatever resources you need. Nia hugged her mother, crying happy tears. Mom, that's amazing. I survived for a reason, Lorraine said. To help others survive too. Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. Lorraine grew stronger each day, working with Jonathan's team to establish the Victim Support Fund. Nia enrolled in online classes, starting slowly but finding joy in learning again. And she spent time with Jonathan. Long walks in the garden. Quiet dinners after Lorraine went to bed. Conversations about everything and nothing. They were careful, both of them aware of the power imbalance, of the circumstances that brought them together. But the connection was undeniable. One evening, 6 weeks after Lorraine's rescue, Jonathan asked Nia the question she'd been expecting. I'd like to take you to dinner. Away from here, somewhere nice, just us. A real date. What do you say? Nia smiled. I say yes. The restaurant was perfect. Intimate but not too formal, with soft lighting and excellent food. Jonathan had chosen well. He picked Nia up in his personal car, not the chauffeur-driven SUV, and opened her door like a gentleman. You look beautiful, he said as she slid into the passenger seat. Nia wore a dress she'd bought with her first scholarship stipend, a simple blue number that made her feel confident. Thank you. You look pretty good yourself. The dinner was easy, natural. They talked about everything except the kidnapping. Nia told him about her classes, her dreams of becoming a social worker. Jonathan told her about his company, his plans to develop technology that could help underserved communities. You know what's funny? Jonathan said over dessert. Before all this happened, I was so focused on business that I forgot what really mattered. Your mother's kidnapping woke me up. Reminded me that people are more important than profits. You've always cared about people, Nia said. You could have brushed me off that first day. Instead, you dropped everything to help. I did what anyone decent would do. No. You did what someone exceptional would do. Most billionaires wouldn't have cared about a missing maid. Jonathan reached across the table and took her hand. I care about you, Nia. Not because of the circumstances, not out of obligation, but because you're remarkable. I'd like to keep seeing you, if you want that too. I do, Nia said, her heart racing. I really do. They dated throughout the fall. Slow, careful, both of them aware that they were building something real. Jonathan met Nia's friends from church. Nia attended business dinners with Jonathan, holding her own in conversations with CEOs and investors. Lorraine watched with approval. He's good for you, baby. And you're good for him. He's softer now, more human. The Victim Support Fund officially launched in November, with Lorraine as executive director. The first grant went to a family whose mother had been injured in a workplace accident and lost her job. Lorraine presented them with a check that covered their rent for 6 months and paid for the mother's retraining program. This is your legacy, Jonathan told Lorraine at the small launch party. You took something terrible and turned it into something beautiful. We did, Lorraine corrected. All of us together. In December, Preston's sentencing hearing took place. Nia and Lorraine attended, sitting in the front row as the judge handed down 40 years in federal prison. Preston looked like a broken man, and Nia felt a flash of pity despite everything. "Justice has been served," the judge said. "Not just for Mrs. Thompson, but for everyone you harmed in your quest for profit. You will spend the rest of your life reflecting on the consequences of your choices." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Jonathan's PR team had finally convinced him to make a statement. "Gerald Preston's crimes remind us that wealth and power mean nothing without integrity," Jonathan said into the microphones. "Lorraine Thompson showed more courage in that warehouse than Preston has in his entire life. Her strength inspired me to do better, to be better. The Victim Support Fund is just the beginning." Nia stood beside him, holding his hand, and felt her mother's hand on her shoulder. They were a family now, the three of them, bound by trauma but defined by love. That night, back at the estate, Jonathan asked Nia to meet him in the garden. It was cold, but he'd set up heaters and soft lights. In the center, a bench overlooking the fountain. "Sit with me," he said. Nia sat, her breath visible in the winter air. "What's this about?" "I wanted to tell you something. The past few months with you have been the happiest of my life. You make me want to be a better man. You challenge me, inspire me, make me laugh." He took her hands. "I know it's soon. I know we agreed to take things slow. But I'm falling in love with you, Nia Thompson." Nia's heart felt like it might burst. "I'm falling in love with you too." They kissed under the stars, and Nia thought about how far they'd come from that terrible morning when her mother didn't come home. How pain had transformed into purpose, fear into love, desperation into hope. 2 months later, on a bright February morning, Nia stood in front of the mirror in her room at the estate, adjusting her collar. Today was her first day back on campus, attending classes in person for the spring semester. She'd completed her fall classes online with a 4.0 GPA, and now she was ready to jump back into student life. Lorraine appeared in the doorway, healthy and glowing. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost during her captivity and looked younger somehow, as if surviving had given her new life. "You ready, baby?" "I'm ready. Nervous, but ready." "You're going to be amazing. You always are." Downstairs, Jonathan waited with the car. He insisted on driving her himself, wanting to be part of this milestone. "Big day," he said, kissing her cheek. "How do you feel?" "Grateful," Nia said honestly. "For all of this. For you, for my mother being safe, for getting this chance. I never thought my life could look like this. You earned this, Nia. You never gave up, even when things were darkest." The drive to campus was filled with comfortable chatter. Jonathan talked about a new initiative at Hayes Technologies, a program to provide free coding classes in underserved neighborhoods. Lorraine talked about the latest family they'd helped through the Victim Support Fund, a father who'd been disabled in a car accident and couldn't afford physical therapy. "We're changing lives," Lorraine said proudly. "Real, tangible differences." On campus, Jonathan walked Nia to her first class, ignoring the stares from other students who recognized the Billionaire CEO. At the door, he hugged her. "Good luck. Text me after class." "I will. Thank you for everything. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey." Class was overwhelming in the best way. Nia had forgotten how much she loved learning, being surrounded by other students, engaging with complex ideas. Her professor, an experienced social worker named Dr. Harris, welcomed her back and assigned her first project: create a proposal for a community support program. Nia already knew what she wanted to write about: the Victim Support Fund. She spent the next week interviewing her mother, reviewing case files, and crafting a comprehensive analysis of how financial and emotional support could help crime victims rebuild their lives. Dr. Harris gave her an A and asked to present the paper at a national social work conference. "This is groundbreaking work, Nia. You're going to make a real difference in this field." In March, the Victim Support Fund hosted its first fundraising gala. Nia wore a stunning red dress that Jonathan had insisted on buying her, though she'd protested. "Let me spoil you a little," he'd said. "You deserve nice things." The gala raised over $2 million. Wealthy donors, moved by Lorraine's story and impressed by the fund's impact, opened their checkbooks. By the end of the night, the fund had enough money to help 50 families. "This is incredible," Lorraine said, tears streaming down her face as she gave her speech. "When I was taken, I thought my life was over. But God had other plans. He saved me so I could save others. Every dollar donated tonight changes a life. Thank you." The crowd gave her a standing ovation. Later, Nia found Jonathan on the balcony, looking out over the city. "Quite a night," she said, slipping her arm through his. "Your mother is remarkable. And so are you." He turned to face her. "I have something to ask you." "What's that?" "Move in with me. Officially. I know you and your mother are already staying at the estate, but I want it to be permanent. I want to build a life with you, Nia. If you'll have me." Nia had been expecting this conversation. She and her mother had talked about it just last week. "I love you, Jonathan. And I want that too. But I need to be sure we're doing this for the right reasons, not because of trauma bonding or gratitude." "I understand. And I want you to be sure." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "So I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. But I want you to have this." Inside the box was a delicate necklace with a small diamond pendant. "It was my mother's. She left it to me when she died, told me to give it to the woman I wanted to spend my life with. You're that woman, Nia. Whenever you're ready, however long it takes, I'll wait." Nia's eyes filled with tears. "It's beautiful. And yes, I'll move in with you. Both of us, my mother and me. We're a package deal. I wouldn't have it any other way. What would you do if someone saw your worth before you saw it yourself? If a stranger became family in the most unexpected way? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe to follow more stories like this. Summer came, and with it, new developments. Nia completed her spring semester with another 4.0. Lorraine's Victim Support Fund helped its 100th family. Jonathan's company launched the free coding program and hired 50 graduates from it within the first year. And Nia and Jonathan built their life together. Quiet mornings drinking coffee in the garden. Date nights at small restaurants. Long conversations about their dreams and fears. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. In August, on the one-year anniversary of Lorraine's rescue, they held a small ceremony at the estate. All the people who had helped save Lorraine attended: Detective Morrison, Vincent Torres, Dr. Johnson, the police officers who'd raided the warehouse. Even the security guard from the gate who'd let Nia in that first desperate morning. "You're all family now," Lorraine said, raising her glass. "You saved my life, and in doing so, you gave me and my daughter a future we never imagined. I will spend the rest of my life paying that forward, helping others the way you helped me. Thank you." After the ceremony, Nia and Jonathan walked along the garden path. It was the same path they'd walked a year ago, when her mother was missing and the future looked bleak. Now, everything was different. "You know what I realized?" Nia said. "That terrible morning when my mother didn't come home, I thought it was the worst day of my life. And it was. But it also led to all of this. To us, to the fund, to a purpose bigger than ourselves. I wouldn't change what happened, because it made me who I am." "Your mother would say that's God's plan," Jonathan said. "She would. And maybe she's right." Nia leaned against him. "I love you, Jonathan Hayes. I love you too, Nia Thompson. Today, tomorrow, always." 1 year later, on a perfect autumn day, Nia Thompson graduated with her bachelor's degree in social work. Her mother sat in the front row, crying happy tears. Jonathan sat beside her, beaming with pride. And Nia walked across that stage knowing she'd earned every step. After graduation, she officially joined the Victim Support Fund as deputy director, working alongside her mother to expand services nationwide. Jonathan proposed on Christmas Eve, and Nia said yes without hesitation. They married the following spring in a small ceremony in the garden where they'd shared their first kiss. Lorraine walked Nia down the aisle, both of them remembering that desperate morning that had changed everything. "I'm proud of you, baby," Lorraine whispered. "Your father would be proud too. We did it, Mom. We survived and thrived." "Yes, we did." Together. As Nia and Jonathan exchanged vows, surrounded by the family they'd built from trauma and love, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. The fear, the hope, the courage to accept help when it was offered. The strength to transform pain into purpose. "I promise to love you, support you, and build a life of meaning with you," Jonathan said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved me as much as I saved your mother. You taught me what really matters." "I promise to never let fear keep me from love," Nia replied. "To accept help with gratitude, to offer help with generosity, and to always remember where we came from." They kissed as husband and wife, and the small crowd erupted in applause. Later, at the reception, Lorraine gave a toast. "My daughter and her husband represent everything good in this world. They took a nightmare and turned it into a dream. They took loss and created abundance. They took fear and chose love. The Victim Support Fund has helped over 500 families now, and that number grows every day. All because one morning, my daughter refused to give up. Because one man refused to look away. Because we all chose to help each other." She raised her glass. "To Nia and Jonathan. May your love inspire others the way you've inspired me." "To Nia and Jonathan," the crowd echoed. That night, as Nia and Jonathan danced their first dance as husband and wife, she thought about that terrified girl who'd walked up to a billionaire's door, begging for help. That girl was still part of her, but she'd grown into someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. "Happy?" Jonathan whispered in her ear. "Completely," Nia replied. "This is everything I never knew I wanted." "We're just getting started," he said. "The best is yet to come." And as Nia looked around at her mother, healthy and glowing, at the friends who'd become family, at the husband who'd seen her worth when she couldn't see it herself, she knew he was right. The best was yet to come. And it all started with one desperate plea: "My mother didn't return after the night shift, sir." Those words had changed everything.